Welcome to this video on chemical coordination in humans by the endocrine system, which is a complex network of organized endocrine glands and other organs like heart, kidney, and GIT, which also release hormones to regulate essential body functions. The endocrine system consists of organized endocrine bodies like pituitary, pineal, thyroid, parathyroid, adrenal, pancreas, thymus, gonads, testis in males, ovary in females. Other hormone-producing organs are gastrointestinal tract, which secretes gastrin, secretin, cholecystokinin, and gastric inhibitory peptide. Kidney secrete erythropoietin, triggered by hypoxia, and renin, secreted from juxtaglomerular cells, triggered by hypotension, that is, fall in blood pressure. Heart, atrial muscle, secrete atrial natriuretic peptide, ANP, triggered by hypertension when blood pressure is high. Endocrine glands lack ducts, hence called ductless glands. Secretions of endocrine glands are called hormones. Current scientific definition. Hormones are non-nutrient chemicals. They act as intercellular messengers. They are produced in trace amounts. Important implication of the new definition. The newer definition includes several molecules in addition to hormones secreted by organized endocrine glands. Invertebrates have relatively simple endocrine systems with few hormones. Vertebrates have many chemicals functioning as hormones, providing extensive coordination. The important points to remember are: posterior pituitary does not synthesize any hormone. It only stores and secretes oxytocin and vasopressin, also known as antidiuretic hormone, which acts on distal convoluted tubules and collecting ducts to reabsorb the water, triggered by hyperosmolarity and hypovolemia. Oxytocin causes uterine contraction and milk ejection. Hypothalamus is the basal part of the diencephalon of the forebrain. It regulates a wide spectrum of body functions. Hypothalamus contains groups of neurosecretory cells called nuclei. These nuclei produce hormones. Hypothalamic hormones regulate the synthesis and secretion of pituitary hormones. Hypothalamus secrete releasing hormones and inhibitory hormones. Releasing hormones stimulate secretion of pituitary hormones, like GnRH, stimulates pituitary synthesis and release of gonadotropins. Inhibitory hormone, like somatostatin, inhibits release of growth hormone from pituitary. Hypothalamic hormones originate in hypothalamic neurons. They travel through axons, axonal transport. They are released from nerve endings. They reach the anterior pituitary through a portal circulatory system. The hypothalamic neuron transport the oxytocin and ADH synthesized in hypothalamus to posterior pituitary, where they are stored and released when required. Posterior pituitary. Posterior pituitary is under direct neural regulation of the hypothalamus. NEET high yield. Anterior pituitary mainly regulated through hypothalamic portal circulation. Posterior pituitary is under direct neural regulation by hypothalamus. The hypothalamus acts as the master for the pituitary, hence called as master of master gland of the endocrine system. Hypothalamus synthesize oxytocin and vasopressin. They are transported transaxonally to pars nervosa, the posterior pituitary, where they are stored and secreted. ADH release is triggered by hyperosmolarity and hypovolemia. Oxytocin causes contraction of uterine smooth muscle and lactiferous duct smooth muscle, causing milk ejection. Oxytocin is released during childbirth, hence called as childbirth hormone. Important point to note is the total number hormones synthesized in posterior pituitary are 0. None. Pituitary gland. Located in a bony cavity called the sella turcica, attached to hypothalamus by a stalk. The pituitary is divided into adenohypophysis, which consists of pars distalis and pars intermedia, and neurohypophysis, also called pars nervosa, commonly called posterior pituitary. Pars distalis, or anterior pituitary, produces 6 hormones: growth hormone, GH, prolactin, PRL, thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH, luteinizing hormone, LH, follicle stimulating hormone, FSH. Pars intermedia secretes only one hormone, melanocyte-stimulating hormone, MSH. In humans, pars intermedia is almost merged with pars distalis. Neurohypophysis, or posterior pituitary, stores and releases oxytocin and vasopressin. Critical point to note is both oxytocin and vasopressin are actually synthesized by the hypothalamus, but stored in posterior pituitary. Growth hormone, GH. Excess secretion before puberty causes abnormal growth of body known as gigantism. Deficient secretion of growth hormone causes stunted growth, called as pituitary dwarfism. Excess GH in adults, particularly during middle age, can cause severe disfigurement, especially facial changes. This condition is called as acromegaly, means enlarged peripheries, like large hands and protruding jaw. It can lead to serious complications and premature death if unchecked. Early diagnosis can be difficult, and the condition may remain undetected for years. Prolactin, PRL, regulates growth of mammary glands, regulates formation of milk in mammary glands. TSH stimulates synthesis and secretion of thyroid hormones from the thyroid gland. ACTH stimulates synthesis and secretion of glucocorticoids from the adrenal cortex. LH and FSH are gonadotrophins, stimulate gonadal activity. Therefore, they are called gonadotrophins. In males, LH, the luteinizing hormone, stimulates synthesis and secretion of androgens from testis. FSH plus androgens regulate spermatogenesis. In females, LH induces ovulation of fully mature follicles, Graafian follicles, and maintains the corpus luteum, which develops from remnants of the Graafian follicle after ovulation. FSH stimulates growth and development of ovarian follicles. MSH secreted by pars intermedia, melanocyte-stimulating hormone, acts on melanocytes, regulates skin pigmentation. Posterior pituitary releases stored oxytocin and vasopressin. Oxytocin acts on smooth muscles and stimulates their contraction. In females, oxytocin produces vigorous contraction of uterus during childbirth. It also stimulates milk ejection from mammary glands. Vasopressin, or ADH, the antidiuretic hormone, released from posterior pituitary. Its main site of action is kidneys, DCT, and collecting ducts. ADH stimulates reabsorption of water and electrolytes by the distal tubules, thereby reduces loss of water through urine. Hence, vasopressin is also called antidiuretic hormone. Diabetes insipidus is caused by impairment of synthesis or release of ADH, results in reduced ability of kidney to conserve water, excessive water loss leading to severe dehydration. This condition is called diabetes insipidus, occurs due to impaired synthesis or deficient release of ADH. Pineal gland, located on the dorsal side of the forebrain, secretes melatonin that regulates the 24-hour/diurnal rhythm of the body. Metabolism, pigmentation, menstrual cycle, defense capability. NEET point. Pineal secretes melatonin that controls diurnal rhythm, metabolism, skin pigmentation, menstrual cycle, and defense capabilities. Thyroid gland. Thyroid has two lobes. The lobes are located on either side of the trachea. The two lobes are connected by a thin flap of connective tissue called the isthmus. Thyroid consists of follicles, stromal tissue. Each thyroid follicle consists of follicular cells. These cells enclose a cavity. Follicular cells synthesize tetraiodothyronine, or thyroxine, T4, triiodothyronine, T3, iodine. Iodine is essential for normal synthesis of thyroid hormones. Iodine deficiency causes hypothyroidism with an enlargement of thyroid gland called as goiter. Hypothyroidism during pregnancy can cause defective development and maturation of the growing baby, resulting in cretinism. Cretinism is characterized by stunted growth, mental retardation, low intelligence quotient, abnormal skin, deaf mutism. Hypothyroidism in adult women may cause irregular menstrual cycles. Functions of thyroid hormones. Thyroid hormones regulate basal metabolic rate, support red blood cell formation, control metabolism of carbohydrates, proteins, fats, influence maintenance of water balance, electrolyte balance. Hyperthyroidism. Cancer or nodules of thyroid can increase thyroid hormone synthesis and secretion to abnormally high levels. This causes hyperthyroidism, which results in exophthalmic goiter, or Graves' disease, characterized by enlargement of thyroid gland, protrusion of eyeballs, increased basal metabolic rate, weight loss. Refer to video on thyroid in this channel. Thyrocalcitonin, or TCT, is secreted by parafollicular cells of thyroid gland. It is a protein hormone, regulates blood calcium levels. Parathyroid glands. Humans have 4 parathyroid glands, located on the backside of the thyroid gland. One pair is associated with each thyroid lobe. Parathyroids secrete parathormone, PTH. Parathormone is a hypercalcemic hormone. PTH secretion is regulated by circulating levels of calcium ions. Parathormone increases blood calcium levels. PTH increases blood calcium concentration. Parathormone is a hypercalcemic hormone. It acts through several mechanisms. On bone, parathormone stimulates bone resorption, which involves bone dissolution and bone demineralization. On kidney, parathormone stimulates reabsorption of calcium plus by renal tubules. In the intestine, parathormone increases absorption of calcium from digested food. PTH is a hypercalcemic hormone because it increases blood calcium. Thymus is lobular structure, located between the lungs, behind the sternum, on the ventral side of the aorta, plays a major role in development of the immune system, secretes peptide hormones, thymosins, which promotes both T-cell-mediated immunity and antibody-mediated humoral immunity. Thymosins promote differentiation of T lymphocytes. T lymphocytes provide cell-mediated immunity. Thymosins also induce production of antibodies by B lymphocytes. Thymus degenerates in old individuals, hence old people have weaker immunity. Adrenal glands. Humans have 1 pair of adrenal glands. One adrenal gland is located above each kidney. Adrenal glands have major regions: adrenal cortex, outer region; adrenal medulla, inner centrally located region. Adrenal medulla secretes adrenaline and noradrenaline. These are called catecholamines, which are derived from amino acid tyrosine. Rapidly secreted during stress and during emergency situations. So catecholamines are called as emergency hormones or fight or flight hormones. Catecholamines increase alertness, pupillary dilation, piloerection, sweating, heart rate, force of heart contraction, respiratory rate. Catecholamines stimulate glycogen breakdown, increase blood glucose concentration, stimulate breakdown of lipids and proteins. Adrenal cortex. Divided into 3 layers. From outer inner code is GFR, secrete and regulate salt, sugar, and sex hormones. Zona glomerulosa is the outer, regulates salt in the body, that is, water and electrolyte balance. Zona fasciculata, the middle layer, regulates sugar in the body. Zona reticularis, the inner layer. The adrenal cortex secretes hormones collectively called corticoids. Corticoids. 2 important categories. 1. Glucocorticoids, involved in carbohydrate metabolism. Main glucocorticoid, cortisol. 2. Mineralocorticoids, regulate water and electrolyte balance. Main mineralocorticoid, aldosterone. Glucocorticoids/cortisol. Glucocorticoids are catabolic hormones. Stimulate gluconeogenesis. Stimulate lipolysis. Stimulate proteolysis. Inhibit cellular uptake and utilization of amino acids. Cortisol, additionally, helps maintain the cardiovascular system. Supports kidney functions. Produces anti-inflammatory reactions. Suppresses immune response. Stimulates RBC production. Aldosterone.
Aldosterone acts on renal tubules. Aldosterone increases sodium reabsorption, increases water reabsorption, increases excretion of potassium and phosphate ions. Aldosterone helps in electrolytes, body fluid volume, osmotic pressure, blood pressure.
Adrenal gland. One pair each, located above each kidney. Has outer adrenal cortex and inner adrenal medulla. Adrenal medulla secretes catecholamines. Adrenaline, also called as epinephrine, and noradrenaline, also called as norepinephrine, secreted rapidly during stress or emergency situations, hence also called as emergency hormones, fight or flight hormones. Adrenal cortex secrete corticoids. Has 3 layers. GFR. Zona glomerulosa is the outer. Secretes mineralocorticoids, mainly aldosterone, which causes sodium and water absorption, and potassium and phosphate excretion. Zona fasciculata, the middle layer, secrete glucocorticoids, mainly cortisol. Zona reticularis, the inner layer, secretes androgens, the sex hormones. Adrenal cortex also secretes small amounts of androgenic steroids. They contribute to development of axial hair, pubic hair, facial hair, particularly during puberty. Addison's disease, caused by underproduction of hormones by the adrenal cortex, characterized by altered carbohydrate metabolism, resulting in acute weakness and fatigue. Addison's disease is caused by underproduction of adrenal cortical hormones. Pancreas, a composite gland, or heterocrine gland, which as both exocrine part accounts for 98%, and endocrine component has 1 to 2 million. Islets of Langerhans represent only 1 to 2% of pancreatic tissue. Islets of Langerhans has alpha cells and beta cells. Alpha cells secrete glucagon, the hyperglycemic hormone. Glucagon stimulates glycogenolysis, the breakdown of glycogen to glucose. Glucagon stimulates gluconeogenesis, the production of glucose from non-carbohydrate sources, like amino acids. Reduces cellular glucose uptake and its utilization. Glucagon acts on only hepatocytes, unlike insulin, which acts on both hepatocytes and adipocytes. Beta cells secrete insulin, the hypoglycemic hormone, that regulates glucose homeostasis. Acts on hepatocytes and adipocytes. Insulin enhances cellular glucose uptake. Insulin enhances glucose utilization. Insulin promotes movement of glucose uptake by hepatocytes and adipocytes. Insulin stimulates glycogenesis, that is, formation of glycogen from glucose. Insulin deficiency causes diabetes mellitus, characterized by prolonged hyperglycemia, glycosuria, the presence of glucose in urine, and formation of ketone bodies, known as ketosis in severe cases. Diabetic patients can be successfully treated with insulin therapy. In males, a pair of testes is present in the scrotal sac, located outside the abdomen in males. Testis has dual function. Testis functions as primary sex organ and also endocrine gland. Testis consists of seminiferous tubules and stromal or interstitial tissue with Leydig cells located in the intertubular spaces. Produce a group of hormones called androgens. Main androgen is testosterone. Androgens regulate development of secondary sexual characters. Androgens promote maturation and functions of male accessory sex organs, like epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicles, prostate gland, urethra. Secondary sexual characteristics. Androgens stimulate muscular growth, facial hair, axillary hair, aggressiveness, low-pitched voice, spermatogenesis, sexual behavior, libido. Androgens produce anabolic synthetic effects on protein metabolism, carbohydrate metabolism. Ovary. Females have a pair of ovaries, located in the abdomen. Functions. Ovary is the primary female sex organ. Produces 1 ovum during each menstrual cycle. Also functions as an endocrine gland. Ovaries produces 2 groups of steroid hormones, estrogens, progesterone. Ovary consists of ovarian follicles, stromal tissues. Estrogen
synthesized and secreted mainly by growing ovarian follicles. Estrogens stimulate growth and activities of female secondary sex organs. Estrogens promote development of growing ovarian follicles. Estrogens produce female secondary sexual characteristics. Example, high-pitched voice. Estrogens promote mammary gland development, regulate female sexual behavior. Progesterone. After ovulation, the ruptured ovarian follicle becomes the corpus luteum. Corpus luteum secretes mainly progesterone. Progesterone supports and maintains pregnancy. Progesterone acts on mammary glands, stimulates formation of mammary alveoli, promotes milk secretion. Alveoli in breast tissue are sac-like structures in mammary glands. They store milk.
Important points. Oxytocin and ADH synthesized by hypothalamus, not by posterior pituitary. Portal vascular system is seen in anterior pituitary and hepatoportal system of liver. Aldosterone reabsorbs sodium and water and excrete potassium and phosphate ions. Thyroid hormones, cortisol, and erythropoietin influence RBC production. Vasopressin acts on DCT and collecting ducts. Deficiency of thyroid hormones during pregnancy results in cretinism in baby. Thymosin promotes both cell-mediated immunity and humoral antibody-mediated immunity. Both MSH and melatonin influence skin pigmentation. Melatonin also regulates metabolism, menstrual cycle, and defense capabilities. Pregnancy is maintained by progesterone. Mammary glands development is by estrogen, milk production is by prolactin, mammary alveolar development is by progesterone, and milk ejection is by oxytocin. Graves' disease is characterized by exophthalmic goiter and hyperthyroidism. Iodine deficiency causes hypothyroidism with goiter. Diabetes mellitus is due to deficiency of insulin, and diabetes insipidus is due to deficiency of vasopressin or ADH. Parathormone is hypercalcemia, and calcitonin is hypocalcemic. Glucagon is hyperglycemic hormone. Progesterone is hormone of pregnancy, and oxytocin is hormone of childbirth.